How's it going, buddy?
Good, good. How about you?
I am good. So to everyone else that will be watching this mini interview, Hudson and I are across the country from each other, but we're not going to let this stop us from doing an interview here. So so welcome to everybody that's watching. Hudson and I are good friends, so good to see you again, buddy. How's it going, man?
It's going great. It's good to see you too. I'm here in Portland.
So the idea behind this interview is I figure you use ON1 apps. I use ON1 apps. I figure by this point, everybody watching this will know pretty much where to get them and what they can do. There's lots of training out there. There's all that stuff. So I didn't just want to like shove ON1 down everybody's face. It's more about, I think, post-processing in general. And so I've got some questions for you that kind of just relate to just post-processing thoughts, which, these can be in any program, regardless of what you're using. But I think people like to kind of get a look inside someone's post-processing mind, what kind of ideas kind of flow around in there. And I know yours is sick and twisted, so.
Well, it around a little bit.
All right, man. So I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna jump right in. Good?
Sounds good to me.
You ready for the barrage of questions?
Yeah, I'm great.
So first one, do you like post-processing? Do you consider it a necessary evil that you have to do? Do you like it? Is it actually part of the process for you and you enjoy it? And the reason why I ask is because I know this varies among people. I know some people consider it this like, oh God, I sit in front of the computer again. And I know some people actually really like the art of crafting their photo after they've taken it.
Yeah, I think, the art of crafting the photo after you take it is half of the art. There's no two ways about it. And I think that as you do more and more post-processing and you photograph more and more, especially in the digital world, where we're able to just go out, grab an image, bring it home, work it up, you start thinking about the edit when you're working in the field, and that's where things really click. And I love doing that. And I think the answer to the question about whether I love post-processing, if I didn't enjoy post-processing, I'm doing the wrong thing, because I spent a lot of time doing it.
Yeah.
But, back when I practiced law, I was not enjoying it, and that's why I'm post-processing images now. There is a difference between whether, I have a 1,000 images to go through for a commercial client, or whether I've been out on a dream trip and, Patagonia, which I'm leaving for tomorrow, and coming back with those images and working up, my own sort of artistic endeavors. It can get a little old from time to time when it's, when it's just the drudgery, but I love getting creative with post-processing, whether it's for myself or for someone else, if I have the latitude to really start playing around and delving in. And I love getting to edit that image in the field that I was shooting for that edit and watching it come true on the screen. One of the greatest.
By the way, I hate you regarding Patagonia. Just thought I'd get that out there now. So
you could have come.
You enjoy your Patagonia trip, and I'm enjoying Florida. So fine, I'm going to go to the beach. How's that?
Well, you'll be warmer.
All right. So no, good answer. I think that's representative. I think that's representative of people that have clients and then people that might not have clients. I think because I think there is a difference there. If you have clients and you're working, then I would guess most people don't want to spend a ton of time doing post. But when it comes, like you said, a perfect example, you go out on a personal trip and then you come back and there's a little bit of fun in that.
Oh, there's a lot of fun in it. And even sometimes, I had a job for a client recently where they wanted huge, high resolution, just winter images, panoramic mergers of these, desert scenes with their product in it. And that's, they're giving me latitude to just get creative and do what I want to do and put their product in. That's fun. There's a blend.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Black and white. So ON1's obviously got black and white integrated in Perfect Effects. There's lots of black and white conversions out there, but what's your feeling on black and white? It's always a topic. It's always, I think black and white plugins across the board always do well. But then, at least when I see a lot of people's pictures, I don't necessarily always see a lot of black and white. So just what's your thoughts? Do you convert to black and white a lot? And if you do, what causes it? Like what spurs that moment?
You know, I've always been drawn to color. I'm more of a color photographer, but I do love some scenes in black and white. Sometimes really, really high contrast scenes or really low contrast scenes. It's interesting. So, you know, a foggy day can almost be black and white from the get-go, and you can play with tones. Yeah, or if you're out shooting in the absolute worst light sometimes on a blue sky day with maybe just some contrails or little cirrus, you know, clouds buzzing around, you've got a dramatic landscape that's really harshly lit. You can do a lot with that in black and white to just create drama, and those blacks can be fantastic, and you can get these real silvery tones in the sky. So there's times when I see a dramatic scene and I think black and white in my head, but I think if you go through, you know, my portfolio, there's not a lot of black and white, but I do have quite a bit in my personal collection. It's just not all out there. Sometimes I just really enjoy it. I get thinking about the old masters, and sometimes I'll be traveling and shooting street scenes in the middle of the day, and it just calls to me to convert to black and white. And I do really love the ON1 black and white app. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I was really excited when Lightroom came out, and I could shoot color and I could turn it to black and white and adjust the underlying colors. And then ON1 came out back in the day with the perfect black and white, and I started playing with that, and it was just even more nuanced. And it's really fun to have the level of control color by color underneath, as if you had a whole set of filters for different parts of the image when you were capturing. It's great. And
plus, I think it's cool because in 10, it was put into effects. Which I think just makes it, you know, it's not a whole separate app. You know, and they didn't take out any features, which is nice. So it's the same black and white app, but now it's just, I think, in an easier place.
Well, it always seemed like an effect to me.
You know, and so I don't want to say, and this was before I ever started it on ON1, I might be responsible, or at least partially responsible, for that discussion starting, because I remember when they talked about black and white years ago. And I had said, I think real black and white enthusiasts don't consider it an effect. They consider it, you know, that's the way the photo was. And so I might be, I was a proponent of having it separate, but recently I became a big proponent of not having it separate. So once the features are there, I don't care where it is.
It's interesting because whenever you're doing a black and white edit, you want to bounce back and forth. So you're gonna do your work in effects, and then you're gonna jump into black and white. So why not just put them in?
Yeah. Okay. Next question, Mr. Hudson Henry. And this quick one. You don't even. Yeah. I mean, just overall post-processing feelings. So are you of the anything goes, or are you of the you have ethics? And let's drop commercial out of this, commercial shoots, because when it comes to the commercial shoot, you're pretty much in large part taking on their vision.
Oh, yeah.
Your personal work.
Yeah. It depends a lot on what I intend at the scene. I'm not a person who collects little bits and pieces to bring home and slap things together to create something wholly different. You know, I see a scene and I might bracket it and blend those exposures. Absolutely, there's no problem with that. I want to capture the entire dynamic range. I do a lot of panoramic mergers. I'm capturing the scene with just enlarging my sensor by spreading it across the whole scene. I will have no problem getting rid of some power lines that are really annoying me in a scene that, you know, I wish weren't there. You know, these are these lines that we all have. It's
you replace a sky?
I haven't actually replaced a sky with a sky from somewhere else. I have moved clouds from the left to the right before in a scene. I think, you know, it was the same night. I think that if you're photographing, let's say, for the National Park Service, I mean, we're getting away from commercial, but if you're photographing for editorial purposes or for a book about a place, let's say that. Let's say you're working on a book about Yosemite. Yeah. I don't think you should do a whole lot of changing of what you found there when you were on the ground in the field. For me, it boils down to what did I intend when I took the image. It's digital art. For me, it's not photorealism. It's not trying to capture exactly what I found there. It's
Yeah.
it's what I had in mind when I'm tripping the shutter. So.
All right. So I'm hearing there's a level where you'll stop. You kind of have a point where you're not in anything goes. There's a point there.
I'm not in anything goes. Yeah, I'm not going to Photoshop, Madonna into the into the scene that I just saw. I'm not.
I did that just before we talked. But it was right out front, and I just took a picture of her. So, okay. On average, and again, let's. Well, I mean, anything. On average, how much time would you say you spend on like one of your good photos? Like, you go somewhere, you captured a great location, you got a great shot. How much time are you spending in post on that image? Is it, you're just moving sliders around in Lightroom? Are you really getting in there and dodging and burning?
It completely depends. Yeah, I mean, like you said, so one of my portfolio images, it depends on two things. One, is it a panoramic merger, or I used to just do exposure blending by hand in Photoshop or layers, on-one layers. And nowadays I use Lightroom's merge to HDR because it's just so good and realistic. And then I can really just get a wider dynamic range image to post-process the normal way. I'm not a big fan personally of the big, really neon HDR look that many people are, and I have no problem with that. It's just not my style.
Yeah.
If I'm working on one of those images, sometimes I'll get lost in it. I'll be honest. Sometimes I'll start working on it and my wife will say, "It's time for dinner." And I run downstairs and I get dinner and I run back upstairs, and then she's texting me at midnight saying, "Are you coming to bed?" And I realize that I'm bleary-eyed staring at the screen and I can't even tell what the colors are anymore. And I save it and go to bed and get up in the morning and look at it and say, "Oh, wow, I really overdid that." And I'll keep going and wow, I just spent, 6 hours working on this image. And I love that. And I'll tell you, sometimes I go back a year later and there's new tools, ON110s come out, Photoshop CCs come out, something new that's a little more nuanced. And the great thing about raw photos in the digital age is it's like taking the film out of the camera for the first time. You go back to that raw image, you get to process it a completely new way. So, I mean, there are some images, particularly panoramic mergers, so I have some panoramic mergers that are 40,000 pixels wide and 2 gigabytes on the hard drive, and even with a new Mac Pro they take forever with the computer crunching on every move that I make. So you have to sort of plot your path through them and make coffee and do the bills and do things while things are happening. But on a standard image, if everything's right and I take a single shutter click, sometimes everything's perfect in the field and it's a 5-minute edit, and my general workflow is just get those sliders where I want for the raw processing in Lightroom, bring it into effects, apply some dynamic contrast, play with some color enhancing, maybe do a little tone enhancing, and I'm done. I'm out.
That's cool. I think what what I got out of that was it's, you're not, a lot of images are quick, but you also do like to get lost in an image and kind of just edit and kind of play with it. And if it takes hours, you'll do it just because it seems like you're into it.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Last question, my friend. So back when you were starting out and all this stuff, hardest thing about post-processing to learn? Like what, does anything stick in your mind that was just hard to grasp, hard to do, hard to see?
Yes. But for me, the hardest thing when I was starting out was color correction, because I was shooting film and I was scanning it, and I was working with early versions of Photoshop, and it was just so difficult. And that luckily is not something that young photographers face today.
Yeah.
I think that starting out in Photoshop was difficult for me, and there wasn't any alternative then. Learning all these menu moves, anybody knows you can get lost in Photoshop. There's so many different types of artists that are using this, from visual designers and hand drawers to photographers, and it's just huge and it's menu driven, and And I think that, you know, I learned to use Photoshop and learned to create actions and learn to do all these things. And it took years to really get the hang of it. And I still go back there for certain things that I just know how to do quick.
Yeah.
But you know, I'll be bluntly honest. The reason I'm sitting down with On1 and the reason I've been doing so much with On1 lately is I really, really love how quick and dirty and easy it is to get the look that you want by just using effects. And I think it's the same reason that people love Instagram and some of these quick editing apps for lower quality mobile images. You know, it's a quick way to get in, preview what the look that you want is going to be, get that look, and then with On1 have all these nuanced tools that are intuitive to just dial it in. So I guess there's two things that were difficult for me. One was just getting the colors right from film to the screen, which took forever. I read books that were physics books. And two was just learning the interface for a software program that really wasn't designed for photographers with photographers in mind.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's because it wasn't, a lot of that wasn't designed for some of the stuff that we do.
No. And the other great thing today is Lightroom. I mean, Lightroom is designed for us and for what we do.
Yeah, that's I mean, you know, I haven't looked at college curriculums lately or even high school, but I hope that's like 101. Just, you know, just the basic panel alone. Photography 101, exposure, shadows, highlights, color.
Yeah, it's so easy laid out.
Well, cool, man. Well, thank you very much. So it's where can people find out more about? I know the answer to this question, but what's the best place to send people that want to find out more about you?
It's simple, hudsonhenry.com, just like the Great Explorer backwards. Instagram and Facebook, I'm really active. Twitter, I'm out there.
Yeah.
Easy to find. You can find those links on my homepage. I blog. I do some stuff with On1. You can find me there too. Great talking with you, Matt. I had a good time.
You too, buddy. Thanks for doing that, man. Have a very good trip to Patagonia. I hate you still, and and thanks for joining us here.
Hey, thanks, man.
All right.